Well, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. It's Jessica Mauderer, and I'm here with a wonderful friend, Bobbie O'Keefe, today. We are joining you from Olathe, Kansas. Bobbie and I met a little while back, probably over a year,
ago.
2 years ago, maybe. And so we reconnected again. It's just amazing to reconnect with friends. And as we've been talking, our stories are very similar. And I know we were discussing like our paths and just how we've had, similar experiences. And we know that our message will impact someone or help someone. And so as we're sharing our story, maybe this is something for you, or maybe it's something for someone else, but we hope that you can share it with others. We just want to spread great positive news. We want to share things that have helped us move past, our subconscious sabotaging, that have helped us move into, having experiences and helping others, helping us recode. And we've had both similar backgrounds, both being in corporate America previously. And so, can you just share with us, Bobbie, more of your story? So, kind of tell us who you are, who you've been, where have you worked, how did that work kind of create an identity for you as well, right?
Yep.
Yeah, you want to share more about you?
Sure. So I've worked in corporate America for the last 20 or so plus years. I was a pretty ambitious young person and put myself through college and worked a corporate job and ended up in 2013, actually, let's go 2012. I ended up really thinking about coaching, personal life coaching. And I was introduced to a guy named Brendan Bouchard.
Oh, cool.
And he's awesome.
Yeah,
And
he
I've
is.
gone through some of his program and have watched him online and also, in person. And I ended up going through another coaching program called IPEC, which is energy leadership. And it really resonated with me and helped me kind of relook at how I thought and how I looked at reframing the way I was thinking, helped me understand what limited beliefs were. And I became a certified energy leadership coach through IPEC in 2013. At that time in my job and career, I was just getting burnt out at that point. And so I actually made the leap and I quit my job in 2014 in January and decided I'm going to go do consulting work and coaching. And so I ended up doing pretty well for a couple of years. But then an opportunity came by that I couldn't refuse and took the job and ended up doing consulting work for a company. And it was a regular paycheck. So I was starting to feel comfortable and it was great. So I was still doing coaching and consulting, but getting a regular paycheck was always nice. But then I got my dream job offer, and that was like the pinnacle of my career, right before COVID. And that job was an executive level position. I was working for a very large company, and I was creating this new department and such. And COVID hit, and they let me go. And I really felt very lost at that point. This is 2020 now, and felt very lost and had no idea what I was going to do. So I ended up going into business and starting a business coaching practice. And that's where I think we kind of met around that time. And I was helping small businesses create their business plans and their marketing strategies and helping them coach them through the difficulties, the ups and downs of being an entrepreneur. And then, I think we get stuck in our old ways. We start to feel like we need to be comfortable again. And at that point, the business wasn't doing as much as we needed it to be doing financially. And so I found myself finding another full-time job. And I ended up back in corporate America and in a position, couple different positions since then. And again, January this year, 2023, I felt really, really burnt out again. But this time it took me 8 months, not like 13 years.
Like
So
January 2024, 2023.
2024.
Okay.
This past
Okay.
January.
So just like a month ago.
Yeah, just a month ago, I decided to quit my job again. And mind you, I was the sole income even before. This time, I'm not the sole income of my family, but I was the primary income. And it was a huge leap again for me to quit my job. But I think this led to conversations you and I have had around not only burnout, but all the hats that we as women wear and how we are pulled in so many different directions. And we're trying to keep all the balls up in the air. And there's a breaking point, there's a tipping point. And I went through that twice in my life. And I find myself back to reevaluating my life. And what I've come to realize is it's not that I was broken and not that I failed, because when you quit your job or if you're let go from your job, your confidence level,
Oh yeah, for
goes
sure.
down.
Like it's like a gut.
It
like,
is. It hurts.
Yeah.
And my confidence level was shot quite a bit when I lost the really good job that I had always wanted. I thought, I'm not good enough. I'm not worthy enough. They didn't see value in me. All those negative voices in my head. So I think what happened was I needed that validation again. So that's why I went back into corporate, because
that's so powerful. You just said, like, can you say that again?
So I needed the validation again. Like I lost that confidence. So I needed validation. So I went and looked for it through another corporate job. And I think that's why I ended up unhappy again and burnt out again, because then I realized they don't value me. And I started to feel like I was being abused again.
Right.
And you and I had talked about this before, that sometimes it's like an abusive ex-boyfriend or relationship. That I've been personally in an abusive relationship before, long time ago when I was young. And when I was describing my burnout to a doctor back in the 2014 timeframe, she's like, it sounds like you're in an abusive relationship with someone. You keep going back. You keep going back for more. You keep making excuses. And that's exactly what I did. And I didn't learn my lesson. I ended up going back to corporate as my bad boyfriend. And though this time it only took 8 months versus, like I said, 13 years. And I realized I needed to get out of that relationship. And so now I've been, since January, just been focusing on just rewiring the way I think, gaining more confidence back in who I am, but also really digging deep to figure out, who am I? Who is Bobbie? And I also go by Roberta. And
yeah. I have her on my phone. I'm like, well, Bobbie is how I have you on my phone. I asked her today when she came to my house. I was like, is it Roberta or is it Bobbie? What do you prefer? Because I have you on my phone as Bobbie, but we saw each other on Friday at a networking group after we had met the previous week, I think. Was it the previous week or same week? And I'm like, okay, is it Roberta or Bobbie? Like, I want to make sure that, I'm using the correct terminology, because I know for me, people call me, Jess, Jessie, Jessica. I prefer, Jess or Jessica. But I just want to make sure, like, it's like, I don't want to like create any, like, I just want to call people what they want to be called. Right.
Yeah.
But who do you see you're reprogramming yourself, you're silencing inner critics, you're, maybe there's sabotage. And these are all things that I'm talking about because I do them myself, right? I think as humans, we have these things that, whether it's programmed, or it's just because we're humans. We're humans.
Yeah.
Like, we're human.
The environment that we were brought up in, we're
humans. Like,
yeah.
our brains
Yeah.
are helping protect us from the fears, the bears, right? So if you're having negative thoughts or fear-based emotions, it's because you're human. Yes, there's also conditioning in childhood. There's conditioning in different circumstances and different experiences and relationships and different things. But as all humans, like whether you've had a good childhood, a bad childhood, it's a human experience and our human mind. Like, and so, like you said, like referencing the experience in corporate America, it's like a boyfriend, bad relationship, abusive relationship. And there are some people that go through corporate America and they have great relationships. And there are people that have great boyfriends and great marriages. But then there are also things that in relationships that are not good that you've had maybe in the past or currently, as well as corporate America situations. So maybe describe an experience that you are like, okay, that was one example. Like you were talking about this morning when you got here, like you're having time to read.
Yeah.
like read, like as simple as reading is. Yeah. You're having time to read and do those things and work on yourself, right? That you didn't have before. So share about that.
I think I just got caught up, and everyone does this. You just get caught up in life. You get caught up in your work. You want to do the best that you can every day. If you're a high performer or any person, usually wants to do the best that they can when they're working full time at a job or in a corporate career. And you just don't have the time to take that step back and really think about, is this the right place for me? Why is it so hard sometimes? Or why is it so frustrating? Or this just isn't fitting. Like in my gut, this doesn't fit. Like it's not, if you want to use the word aligned, it's not aligned with what I think my purpose is. Even if I don't know what my purpose truly is, I just know this wasn't aligned with that gut feeling. In that book, I mentioned to you that I was reading called You're Not Broken by Christopher Michael Duncan. He talks about being able to tap into your conscious and your subconscious mind. And one way to do that is when you think about a really, really great experience that you had, whether it's giving birth to a child, getting married, or, a certain special occasion. All of a sudden that evokes a physical, like happiness, joy in your heart. And you almost feel like, oh yeah, I remember that day. That was so beautiful. I can't believe that. That starts your endorphins going. And it starts to change the way your mood is that day or that moment. But then think about a really bad experience, like car wreck or really bad experience with a boyfriend. All of a sudden you start to feel that physical inside your gut feeling like, oh yeah, that was bad. Like, oh, I don't even want to think about it. I don't want to think about what happened, and because I had a situation and I don't ever want to think about it because it evokes such a physical response to myself. When I was in that job back in this past January, during December, actually, I took some time off for vacation and I was thinking about that job and it evoked that physical, like negative, I can't even look at my computer right now kind of feeling. I don't even want to look at my email. And it just got to that point where that physical response was like, okay, this is not good. I mean, this is not good for my health. It's not good for my physical, my mental well-being. I think I need to step out. And, one thing you and I have in common is our faith. And that was a huge step of faith to be like, okay, Lord, what do you want me to do now? Because we need the income. And I keep hearing that still small voice just telling me, just be patient. And
be still.
Be still. Now the emotions coming out. Be still and just seek out me, seek out the Lord, and then seek out who I am. You know, who does God really want me to be in this world? And I feel like my identity was always Roberta in the corporate world, that now that I'm away from there, I'm reevaluating, okay, what is my identity? Well, number one, I have to be reminded my identity is in Christ. It's my faith.
Absolutely.
So, you know, that's one thing I was reminded of and really have to think about every day.
Yeah. And, you know, it's interesting because, you know, when you have, you know, like been, I mean, I feel like our culture even go to school, get a job. If you don't have a job, you're looked at as lazy.
Right.
Yeah. Like it's so interesting because here I am at my house and like in the last 7 years, how many times have I actually watched TV other than like listening to a sermon, listening to a song? YouTube is like my friend because I can choose what I listen to, right? I don't watch the news. Like I literally stopped watching, I don't watch the news. I don't watch Jerry Springer and all those other shows. I surround myself with people that are uplifting and positive and faith-filled. But yeah, it does take this like, and I'm not a still person. Like getting still for me is like, what? Like I thought I'm supposed to move, right?
Right.
And so getting still, I remember when I went through a program called Unique, it was through my church where they helped you come up with your purpose, your calling, your sweet spot, all of those things. It was so impactful because I never really thought about, I'd read The Purpose Driven Life, right? So I knew I wanted to get up in the morning to have time to read the Bible. I knew I wanted to go on walks with Madison. I knew I wanted to move my body, you know, eat amazing, healthy food. I wanted to take care of my body because I was, you know, like, obviously I wasn't getting pregnant for a reason, like, because I wasn't taking care of my body. A friend of mine, we were talking this morning and he said, actually it was a family member. He said, you know, your body's a temple. God's giving you this temple and like treating it well, right? Like you have all of these, I mean, think about our world right now, like, especially in the United States, like we have all these amazing things to keep us well, yet we treat our bodies sometimes with things that are not helping us be well, like sugar and other things. And so, and even our minds, like even our minds, like, you know, even certain songs now, I'm like, I don't even want to listen to that.
Oh yeah.
I don't even want to listen to that. Like I have my station in my radio, my car on faith-filled music, worship music. You know, I think about what I listen to in the morning with the kids. There's certain things I don't want to watch and I don't want to listen to anymore. Like I'm choosing, even my space, like setting boundaries around what time I go to bed. Because I know sleep is important, right? Like scrolling Facebook is not worth me not getting sleep anymore, right? Like I don't need to do that.
We all get sucked into it too.
Yeah. Like I'm that person who's like, people probably think I'm on Facebook all the time, but I'm that person who posts, but I have limits on how long I'm on there. And so you mentioned our faith, and you mentioned a devotional. Tell us about the devotional, it was Silencing Job. Tell us about that.
So this devotional book is written by a friend of mine who goes to Midwestern Theological Seminary, by Courtney Gorville. And it's called Silencing Job. And it's just short and sweet each day. And I think I'm on day 24, 25 or something like that. But she addresses how the story of Job is applied in our lives today, about, you know, all these things that may have happened to us throughout our past, but how Job was so still faithful in claiming God as his Lord. But one thing I think people forget about in that story of Job is that God has a conversation with Satan at the very beginning, and he allowed Satan to do the things that happened to Job. He said, you can do whatever you want, you just can't take his life. Basically, I'm paraphrasing, obviously. But So God allowed those things to happen. But what did it do? It allowed Job to be not only steadfast in his faith, but also show the people around him his faithfulness to the Lord. His friends that came to see him to try and lift him up and encourage him, he had to finally shut them down because they were just like, how can you deal with this? How can you? He was like, my faith in my Lord, and I think, when I left my job in January, I'm sure people that I know and my coworkers are like, what are you doing? Like, why are you quitting your job? Like,
Right.
are you crazy?
Oh, trust me.
You're losing your salary. You're losing, like, I don't understand you. But you know what? I have faith that this was just not what was meant to be for me. I know that there's something else, and I'm willing to take that leap. Even if, let's say, the Lord allows Satan to do certain things to my life between now and whenever, I know I'm still going to come out ahead because I'm a child of God.
Yep.
And I'm still going to claim him as my savior, and that he is ultimately the one in control.
Yes.
Satan's not in control.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, I definitely have the same feelings. I remember December 12th, 2016, when I was let go in corporate America. And I remember like I'm like celebrating you, right? Like there's some friends that are going to celebrate you, and you start to see your vibe attracts your tribe. And the people that are faith-filled, that know that if you, like you said, like the bad relationship, like I have friends who like, I remember back in the day when I was dating, I had one friend who was like, if you don't make this happen, I'm going to come over there and help you make this happen. Like she's the type of friend, Stephanie, for listening, that like there's types of people who are like, if you don't get out of there, I'm going to help you get out of there. If you need someone to lift you up one day when you're like, okay, did I make the right decision of leaving my job? Call me first. Like I'm going to be the first person to say, just keep like follow what God is telling you, because at the end of the day, like, like I work for God. I don't work for people. Yes, I work with 3. Yes, I have a book. Yes, I have a podcast. Yes, Facebook, I technically work for Meta because they send me checks. But at the same time, I don't work for people. I work for God. Like he's the person I'm looking to please. I'm not looking to please people, because guess what? Like I'm done with being a people pleaser. Like, I don't know about you, but it's like, I can live in the house I'm in, or I can live somewhere else. It doesn't matter where I live, who I'm with, people, friends, family. Like I am who I am. And some people will like me. Some people will like you.
Right.
There's going to be some people who don't like us. And I found the more I shine my light, you're going to see more of that, because haters do come. They do.
Yeah.
Because it's shining a light on where maybe their confidence or their belief system is lacking. And I choose to love people. I mean, this is why I got this painting in the background to remind me, like, I'm all about love. I'm all about bringing good things to people, whether it's my faith, whether it's health, whether it's friendship, right? Whatever it is, I'm bringing good things to people because I care about people.
Right.
With Bobbie, I'm like, we connected because we have similar stories, different stories, but similar stories. Like we're leading this path of following God and being still and knowing that at the end of the day, like our jobs, our companies, whatever we're doing financial, to create financial stability in our families or financial freedom, it doesn't define who we are, because at the end of the day, God, we're a child of God. We're a masterpiece.
And he provides.
He provides
no matter what.
Yeah, he provides no matter what. Like the birds out here, they've been chirping more and more every day. It's getting closer to spring. They don't worry about anything.
Yep. Matthew.
Yeah, they don't worry, right?
Yeah.
The trees, you can see them right outside the window here. Like they're starting to have some sprouts coming out, right? And so as we're turning into spring, here in Kansas City, just knowing that and trusting that, like, God has us. I mean, like you said, like at the end of the day, like Satan may come, um, you know, and all of that, but at the end of the day, God is there for you. You know that He is the one who you're following, who creates. And I love when, I'm praying and, I've started even praying for people like as I'm with them. Like I had a friend do this for me. It's been probably a month now, but it's the first person has ever been like, people say, I'll pray for you. I'll pray for you. And you're like, but really, will you? Because I mean, life gets busy. And I'll say that too. And I'm like, life gets busy. But she's like, no, let's pray right now. And I'm like, wow, like, okay.
Yeah.
So I started doing that myself because I was not I didn't grow up in church. Like, I've been growing in my faith. I'm always like, what do I say? How do I say it? But at the end of the day, like there's no wrong way to pray.
No.
And whether it's silently or out loud, people have prayer rooms and different things. We had a service on Sunday that was about prayer. It was very interesting, but I believe that at the end of the day, like, you may have experiences in life. For some, like you talked about giving birth. I mean, I'm the person who I had not ever been in a hospital, admitted into a hospital until I gave birth. I do not like needles. And so I passed out like getting my IV. Oh, I didn't pass out with the IV. I almost passed out with the IV. Then when they did my epidural, I was like, and so like, I mean, literally like that was the most terrifying part of that. But once I had Madison, it was the most joyful. So here was something that was like on the verge of like, why did I actually do this?
Right.
What was I thinking? To the most wonderful thing. And everybody has a different experience, right? In that whole birthing scenario, right? Some people give birth and their babies are healthy. Some people give birth and their babies aren't healthy. And some people give birth and their babies are, not living any longer. So it's interesting, like everybody can have a different experience. In corporate America, people can have a great experience. In a relationship, some people have only had good relationships. Like they met the love of their life at the very beginning of their life, and they've only known that. They've never experienced anything different. But at the same time, there are people who have been through interesting relationships. We'll just call it interesting, interesting relationships, and are like at the moment where I remember when I was single and dating, I was like, am I ever going to meet a husband? Like, this is really interesting. And then I literally wrote out like what I wanted to create, what I wanted my next person I was dating. I didn't even look to marriage yet. Like, I was like, can I just get through the dating part? And so I wrote down like 10 qualities. And I even do this with like what I wanted my life to look like, 10 qualities that I wanted in a career, in a company, in a business, what I wanted that to look like. Like I wanted, I'm the person that doesn't like a boss. Like I don't like being told what to do. I like being able to be an entrepreneur, be independent, but I also like systems and structure and duplication. And I also like helping people. And so when I found something that like worked well with all of that, right? And I'm still creating what I'm wanting, and building that, then I was like, okay, this is my journey. This is my, what I'm focused on. And so for you, even, it's just like, okay, thinking about what are the things that you do want, what things are important to you. Like you mentioned, like being able to read these devotionals, like being able to read books, to have time to do that. And as you grow yourself and you grow your mind, and new opportunities come.
Yeah.
And new relationships come. What else do you want to share? Because I know we were running out of time here.
Yeah. One thing when you talked about writing down what you wanted, sometimes God gives you exactly what you thought you wanted. And that's the key word, you thought you wanted. And then when you get it, you're like, okay, this isn't what I thought I wanted. And God's done that to me over and over, to the job title and responsibility. And once I've gotten in there, I'm like, oh wait, this isn't what I didn't want a culture like this. I didn't want a boss that was like this, or I didn't want to do this. Well, that's because my list wasn't detailed enough, I
Right.
think. So now I have to go back and really look at, okay, I need to write in more detail what I really truly would like. And ultimately at the end of that list will be, Lord, let your will be done, not mine.
Yes.
You know, because he's given me everything that I've ever wanted, the money, the positions, the, you know, all of that. And I still was so unhappy and still had burnout. And I think that's why this second time around, I'm really taking that step back to reflect as to why was I so unhappy? And so reassuring through reading some of these books that I'm not broken. It's not my confidence. It's not my skills or my ability. It's the way I think. And it's the way I was wired. And I really need to work on kind of rewiring the way I think and learn and grow. And so now's the time to read and learn more and pray and really seek the Lord on this. Because I think in all the other situations, I never really said, okay, Lord, whatever you want, you know, or your will be done. It was more like, Lord, I really want this. I want that.
Right.
And he'd give it to me. And now I can picture him in my head going, I told you, but you wouldn't listen.
Right.
So now I'm trying to listen.
I know that's the interesting part, right?
Yeah.
Like that's the learning
Yeah.
of thinking we know everything. And trust me, like I'm that person that I'm learning that myself too. That he knows best and his will and what he wants for us is always the best. It's like what I said, like working for him, like, you know, there's times when like I have an opportunity in Thailand and I'm like, okay, Thailand. Okay, how does that work? Like you tell me more. And you look at each day in our homes, in our communities. Here we are on the internet. So this literally can go globally, right? To all people and all nations and all worlds. But there are people who are out there praying for guidance. And I think like, instead of asking, you know, I like this little phrase that says like, you know, don't listen to the people that don't have what you want. Like if they're not happy, don't ask them about happiness, right?
Right.
If they don't have God, don't ask them about God. Like think about like if they don't believe, like go to the people or go to God, be still and go to God and ask him for what, like you said, but be very intentional with what you are asking for and praying for. Because yeah, I mean, my aunt's single right now. And I literally told her, I said, you better write down what you want because you're just getting a lot of things right now. And I'm like, be very intentional on what you want. Because you're getting a lot and you're attracting a lot. But what do you really want? And you need to be intentional with that. So same thing, whether it goes for career.
What does God want for her?
Right. And what does God want for her? Right. So seeking that first. So that's what,
Do you remember the first few words of Purpose Driven Life? The very first sentence of that book?
Does it say be still?
No.
What's it say?
It's not about you. I opened that book.
I need to go read it again.
The very first sentence, I think, is it says, it's not about you.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
And that can hit you in the head and be like, you're right, Lord, it's not about me. It's how can I serve others through you and through me. So that's great opportunity for you in Thailand. How can you best serve those people?
Yeah. And I have a picture, I'm in the dining room of our house, my house here. And so there's a picture of kids from Africa. So, you know, as I worked on that volleyball tournament, you know, I had that picture up there because literally the well for a volleyball tournament is to help those kids. Right. And so at times when I'd be like, oh, tonight it's really busy, I'm really tired, I don't know if I want to go invite people to the tournament, I'd be like, no, Jessica, like literally life-saving water for those kids. Like if you don't do it, who's going to?
Mhm.
If you don't, who's going to? And how much time is it going to take? Well, for us, it took 3 years. It's a long time for some, but for some, like that, I'm thinking about like, okay, if I didn't do it, like the impact of 4,000 people. And so you think about, and that's just one time, that's not over generations. That's not into that next generation of families, the next generation. So you think about that. Yes, it's not about you.
Mhm.
And, even this morning, I think about, getting up and being on a Zoom at 7 a.m. for Asia Pacific. It's not about me. Like I'm on there to serve, right? And thinking about how can I help someone in another country, in another territory, in another place. With Bobbie, I'm like, it's not about me. Like, I just want you to come over. I want you to be able to share your story. And just, bring light to people, bring hope to people. This morning I said, I'm a hope dealer, like just giving people hope.
I love it.
Because at the end of the day, like someone somewhere is praying for hope.
Mhm.
Like you don't have to be hopeless and helpless.
And you're not alone.
And you're not alone.
That's the thing.
Yeah.
So many times we isolate ourselves and we feel like we're so alone. And it's another thing I read in a book I'm reading called Unstuck, is that you need people to help you. You can't do it on your own to get unstuck. You need to reach out. Even just this conversation is going to help me propel me forward. Even if we think we didn't really talk about anything important, but it will, because I've reached out. There's a human connection, and we all, I think, are lacking that human connection post COVID. And I really feel like there's a lot of people out there that need to be unstuck.
Yeah, absolutely. So go get unstuck today. I always think about like, what is the action, or what is it I need to pray about today? Be still and pray. It's not about you. I feel like those are some of the big takeaways.
Who can you reach out to today?
Yeah.
Who can connect with? Yeah.
Reach out and touch someone. I love that saying, reach out and touch someone. So hope you guys have an amazing day. Bye. Jessica Mauderer, Bobbie O'Keefe. Hope you guys have a great day. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you're at. Talk to you soon. Bye.
Bye.